Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, reporting to you from the beautiful Willamette Valley of Oregon, Aurora to be particular. We're here with Larry George from George Packing Company. I wanted to talk with you here today as growers are bracing up for harvest. A lot to think about, a lot of work to do, and I was wondering if you could give us an update, as they're really wanting to know how this crop is going to turn out this year, size-wise, quality, what the expectations are, and obviously what they're going to be getting for them.
Exactly. Well, great to have you guys here, and thank you guys for taking so much time to spend time with the hazelnut industry. But yeah, we're looking for a very optimistic crop. We had this great run up for a number of years, and we had some bad years with pricing because of what happened locally in our market, but also what happened in China with the trade war. And so people are saying, when is it going to get back to normal when I can make some money in hazelnuts? And I think we're going to be there this year. We had a pretty good year last year. We dug out of the hole. So coming out of the 2023 season, we're really happy with kind of how we were able to finish that season. And then coming into 24, the crop looks good, the size looks good, been perfect temperature up here for our crop. And then so the volume looks good, the sizing looks good, and I think what the growers really care about, the pricing looks good. So we're optimistic about 2024.
Yeah, I think in our previous conversations recently, you mentioned that prices have even improved within the last little bit, right?
Yeah, what we saw is that prices were depressed early in the 2023 season, and then just about in October, November, they just started taking off, and they just kept kind of climbing and climbing. I think they peaked probably around June. We got some crazy high prices because the market was very short on hazelnuts. But what's good news about that is that even though we kind of ended high at a very high note, we're probably off of that since June, July, since last time we were talking. But the reality is we're starting higher, much higher than where we were last year. And that's what you want to do, right? You want to end high, then come down a little bit, and then run the market back up. So we're optimistic that what we can do is kind of maintain that momentum. And what's nice about it for Oregon is there's not really any volume in the inventory, right? There's no carry-in. So we're starting out with fresh slate. We should be able to hold that market in a really good position.
And while we understand that there's been a lot of new acreage that's going into production, new varieties, there's a lot of variation from orchard to orchard. Do you have any ideas, more or less, of what we're expecting crop size-wise? Maybe a range, at least,
Yeah, that's always the prediction, isn't it?
Right.
So last year we were not quite, but we were approaching 100,000 U.S. tons. And I'm predicting right now we're going to be over that. So we're going to be over 100,000 U.S. tons of in-shell equivalent. So that's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 90 million pounds of kernel equivalent. So, we're optimistic. We keep seeing growth. I think a lot of us expected a lot more growth. There was a lot of big predictions on what the new varieties would produce. And I think it's getting back to kind of like reality of what we are actually going to see in production. My view is that we're going to be in a situation where we're going to peak in about 2026 in production. And we really got to convince growers, hey guys, if we want this industry to keep growing, we got to keep planting acres. And that's a hard thing to do after a couple of years of rough prices. But if you look over the last 10-year average, it's been a very, very good crop to be in.
Well, it's really interesting, especially given that we've recently lost a couple of our packers. And that's another question I had as we getting ready for harvest. There's people that were delivering, growers that were delivering to a couple of other packers that are no longer in the game. So anticipating, the future and the coming years of what we expect and just this harvest, you guys are a lot busier recently because somebody's got to pick up that extra crop and process it and get it out. So what can you tell us with that regard, your vision here?
I would say that, I keep telling people just don't worry about it. We have been kind of forecasting a lot of this consolidation. As you know, the Oregon hazelnut industry is about 2% of the size of the California almond industry. So you have multiple packers that are multiple times the size of the Oregon industry in hazelnuts and almonds. So this is not hard to understand. It's a very capital intensive business. It takes a lot of dollars to be in nut processing, and you got to be really good at it. But when I got into the business in 1994, there was over 20 processors. And so you're just going to see consolidation. Even when you see growth, I think you're going to see the remaining 4 packers always in need of more volume. All right, so especially Willamette Hazelnuts, one of our competitors, family firm over in Newburgh, they've been great about stepping up and starting to take up some of that extra tonnage. And then we basically try to coordinate with everybody to make sure that logistics were taken care of, that receiving stations were in place, cleaning and drying was in place. And I think most growers are not going to see any disruption. And I think you're going to see kind of a more of a real strong unity in the industry to make sure that we're kind of fighting together to keep moving those prices up. So we're optimistic. I don't think the growers will see a drop off in service. In fact, I think you're going to see a lot more precision going on. You're always going to have first year jitters when you have that kind of volume coming onto the market. But I think that we've been prepared for this. And I think a couple of the packers, us and ourselves and Willamette, have really kind of foreseen a lot of this thing happening, and we've been prepared. So I'm optimistic that we're going to take care of this, and I think the growers will be in good shape, and I think it's going to allow us to do a lot of creative things in this market to make sure that price holds up.
Well, that's great to hear. We're looking forward to a great quality product coming out of the fields this year. We wish growers the best of luck with harvest, and I hope that everything goes smoothly. So thank you very much, Larry, always for your insights and your leadership in this industry. Read more about these things in Pacific Nut Producer Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, PacificNutProducer.com.